Well, good afternoon, viewers. I don't know why I didn't think of this yesterday, but if you take an old cap from a cooler, which there's probably tons of them floating around because of all the coolers that got replaced, and add a fitting to it, you can screw this in place of the original cap in there and put a pressure gauge on it and compare pressure in the oil filter housing to the pressure on the gauge on the scan tool. So we're going to do that this morning and confirm that whether or not it has truly got low oil pressure. This is a continuation of yesterday's video. I thought I'd do this. One of my YouTube subscribers mentioned that there's a fitting, and I looked it up, and sure enough, there are two versions of this cap depending on 13 and older and 14 and newer. So we're going to see if we can get that in there. I'm going to try and get that off without taking this air induction system off. So I got the Think tool set up to watch oil pressure here. It's 0 right now, and I got a mechanical gauge. I did have to take the air induction system off to put the gauge hose on. But we're going to start it up and see what kind of oil pressure we've got. Make sure my gauge isn't leaking. 87 pounds on the gauge and roughly 88 pounds on this gauge here. 84, 86. So we're going to let it run until it comes up to 170 degrees. And see if it drops down. The fittings aren't leaking. 58, 60. The mechanical gauge says 58, and this is 55. So we'll let it run for a few minutes. So we're at 77 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're at 49 psi on the electronic side of things and roughly 50 psi on the mechanical gauge. So it's not looking like the sending unit skewed, but we'll let it get up to 170 degrees like it was yesterday. So I'm running at about 2000 RPM, and on the scan tool it says 85 psi, and on the gauge at about 90. We're at 136 degrees Fahrenheit. The spec in the manual, believe it or not, is a minimum of 5 psi at an idle, 600 RPM at operating temperature. Something just happened. I'm wondering if the dual speed switched on to lower the pressure, but it was off. When it's off, it has maximum pressure. When it's on, it has less pressure. So it's at 42 psi now. It was about 80. And on the gauge, it's 46, 45, 46. And we're at 170 degrees. I'm going to let it idle again. So the dual stage pump switched off, and now we're at 19 psi on this gauge here, and roughly 20 and a half on this mechanical gauge. Let's see what it goes to when we put it in drive. drop down to about 15. Yeah, about 16 psi. There's 15 at that line there. And this gauge here is showing about 21. And it's showing 18 psi right now. That's VVT oil pressure. The oil pressure at the filter housing is 18 psi. So it's not reading out, and it's not low technically by the specification, but maybe at one time it did drop low. I'm going to give this thing back to the customer and tell him to drive it and see what happens. It's too bad it doesn't have an oil pressure gauge to monitor on the dash. What's the oil temperature now? 176. I'm going to let it run for a little while longer and see if it gets hotter and lower. I noticed a spike in the oil temperature reading occasionally. It dropped down to 0 for a split second there. I don't know if that's a scanner glitch or if that's a sensor glitch, but it's not setting any codes for oil temperature. It's in pressure reduce mode now with the solenoid on, and it's sitting at 39 psi, but I got it running at about 1800 RPM. And we're at 199 degrees Fahrenheit now. 201 it just hit. So the oil pressure control solenoid is on, and we got 203 degrees Fahrenheit and 37 psi, but this is at an elevated RPM. I'm going to let it idle now. So you can see the solenoid turned off, which raises the oil pressure. We got 12.6 psi now idling. Wow. At 208 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's going to go even lower if I put it in drive, I'm sure. And on the gauge it reads about 16 on the mechanical gauge. Let's try putting it in drive. So it dropped to around 10 according to this. I don't have a helper to put it in drive, and I can't get out of the cab without holding my foot on the brake. Let's see what the temperature of the oil is now. 210. Never had it this hot yesterday. psi. The minimum according to the spec is 5. Might it be dropping lower than 5? On here it says about 15, and on here it says 12.6. So the sending unit I don't think is skewed. Okay, so I got it idling in reverse, chocked the wheels, and it's sitting at 9.6, and on here it's roughly 11 psi on the gauge, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Cooling fans just came on. There's that spike in the temperature reading again. These aftermarket engine or oil filter housing, oil cooler assemblies come with Chinesium sensors, and they sometimes are defective. Well, I think it's got internal wear in the engine that's causing low oil pressure, and it's borderline. Like you got 9.6 psi idling in drive. So here is the specification according to Chrysler or Ram. It says minimum of 5 psi at curb idle speed. It doesn't say at, oh, it says at normal operating temperature. So we have more than that, but just more. We have about 9. So I'm going to talk with the customer. I haven't pressure tested one of these vehicles in the past, so I don't know what's typical. A lot of times it says a minimum of 5, but it actually usually runs around 25, 30. I know I've had that experience on EcoBooms, on Ford EcoBooms. The spec in the manual is very, very low, and it'll cause problems before it gets to that. That P06DD fault code doesn't specify at what pressure it sets that code. So here is the set criteria according to RAM. It says the powertrain control module detects oil pressure is below a calibrated minimum threshold with the oil pump solenoid commanded on for 20 seconds. Apparently that P06DD puts it in limited throttle response mode, according to one of my viewers. And that makes sense because a lot of significant codes like that, I know cam timing error codes do as well. And that would be perceived to be in limp mode because you would have reduced throttle again. MIL will illuminate. Insufficient oil pressure due to mechanical failure in the oiling system, engine mechanical failure. The two-stage pump appears to be working, but there could be excessive wear on the bearings. There could be the oil pump pickup O-ring leaking. But this thing has been a nightmare for this customer. That's as far as we're going to go now. If I do anything further, I'll post a follow-up video.